everyone, it's Darlene from the Specialized Adult Day Program, and I'm here today to show you how you can make potato chips at home only using 3 ingredients, and there is no deep frying included, so it's perfect. Okay, so let's get started. The first ingredient you will need is a potato. Now you can skin your potatoes, peel them, whatever. There's more nutrients in the skin, so I like to keep it on, but that's your preference. If you do use the skin, I suggest really scrubbing it really hard so that you don't get that dirt taste, which I've done already. The other ingredient you will need is either cooking spray, or if you have oil, you can use that as well. It's optional. Cooking spray makes it a little more easier, that's why I use it. But if you have oil, that's what you have on hand, even better. And the third option, which is also optional as well, is salt. Any salt will do. Often I sometimes don't even put salt. It's whatever you like. It obviously gives that little bit more of a savory taste when you put the salt, but again, optional. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing, I'm gonna try to get this camera down a little so you can see. You are going to want to cut your potatoes really thin. So, oh, I didn't even add the best part. You don't even need a frying pan. You'll be making it in the microwave. Oh my gosh, that's the fantastic part about this recipe. All you need is a microwave. All right, getting back. So what you want to do is cut the potatoes really thin. Now, I'm not a good cutter, so I struggle, but the thinner, the better, because obviously they'll cook faster and they'll cook evenly when they're thinner. So I just kind of cut them really thin. If you have like a food processor that cuts, you could also do that as well. Usually I get my husband to cut because he's better at cutting, but you just want to make sure they're thin. Nice and thin. Okay? So once you've cut them, I've cut a few just to show you, you're going to want to soak them in water. Now I do add a little bit of salt in this water, and that just kind of helps to remove the starch from it. And you only want to soak them for about 5-10 minutes. Nothing too long. It's just so that the starch comes out. So once you've done soaking them, you're going to want to shake off any excessive moisture, just so that again, they dry. The drier they are, the better for cooking. Now, when you're layering them, you're going to want to make sure that it's on a microwave safe plate. Oops, I can't show you. And you're going to put a paper towel down on it. And then you're going to arrange your potato chips or potatoes in a circular form, or whatever shape I guess your plate is, but you want to make sure they are not touching each other, because if they touch, they are going to stick together. So you're going to place a few on your plate, not touching, not overlaying, and trying to get them as dry as possible. Now you can do as much, like I only made 2 potatoes today, but if you're making more, and actually when I'm looking at these look a little wet to me, so I'm going to take another paper towel and I'm going to dry them, because the drier, the way better. Okay. So now once they are on and dry, you are going to take your cooking spray. Now, if you don't have cooking spray and you have oil, you could put oil in like a little bowl and then just brush it on, but it's very lightly. You do not want to saturate these potatoes. They're just not needed. So I just kind of do a quick and done. And then I'm going to flip them over And this is where you want to make sure they're not touching. And just give them a quick spray again. Again, making sure that they are not touching. Lots of space around for cooking. If you were going to add salt, I'm not going to add salt to mine. I don't think you need it, but if you'd like to add a little bit of salt, this is where you would sprinkle your salt on. So you would spray it, sprinkle it on, and then spray it again. And then sprinkle more salt. Try both. It's optional. Okay, so now you are going to put it in the microwave. So I'm gonna move this up a little more just so you can see. So to start, I'm just gonna put it for 2 minutes. It usually says to put it for 2 to 3 minutes, but you know what? I always think if you want to add more time, you can. So I start with 2 minutes, and depending on how high your power is in your microwave, that might determine it. But I find 2 minutes and start. It works perfectly. Okay, so while we wait for the potato chips to do the first step, I'm going to read to you how potato chips were actually invented. So if you already know the story, you know it's true. It's a little bit of a bizarre story. So the potato chip was invented in 1853 by George Crumb. So he worked at a restaurant as a chef in New York, and he had a customer and he was serving French fries. And the customer was really unsatisfied with his French fries and kept sending it back to the chef, who was George Crumb. So eventually, after, I don't know, maybe the third time of it sending back, because he was saying that the French fries were too thick. They were too thick, and he kept sending it back. So George Crumb thought, oh, I'm gonna get, he says they're too thick, I'm gonna show him how thin they can go. So he thinly sliced the potatoes, kind of out of spite, to send them to the customer. So he sent them back to the customer, and then he thought, oh, this will teach him. Well, believe it or not, the customer actually loved them, and everyone around in the restaurant loved them as well. So that is actually how the potato chip was invented, because it was kind of like he kept sending food back, and then he got spiteful and did that, and that's how the potato chip was invented. After that, George Crumb opened up his own restaurant, and there were lineups coming out just on how popular his potato chips were. So I ask you, do you send food back at a restaurant? I know none of us can go out to restaurants right now. That is one thing I truly miss, because I love going to restaurants. I love the experience of it. But I'm not a picky eater, so for me, I don't ever send food back. Even if I'm not like 100% satisfied, I'm like, whatever, I'll eat it. All right, I'm gonna get these out. All right, just want to show you the first step of how they look. So they're starting to crisp. Now, if you felt that they weren't quite ready, you could put them for the extra minute, but you know what? I like to just start by turning them over. Let me try to do it. Oh, they're so hot, I can't even hold the plate. So please be careful when you're doing this, because they are hot. So at this point, you're going to flip over all of your potatoes. So while I turn this over, I was talking about returning stuff to restaurants. So because I'm not a picky eater, I think I never really am dissatisfied. I know a lot of people, including my husband, that if they ask for sauce on the side and it comes on it, they're kind of like, well, I asked for it on the side. I'm not that type of person. I'm just like, well, I'm just so scared that something bad might happen. I'm just going to interrupt my story by telling you I'm going to put these back in the microwave for 2 minutes. It's 1 to 2 minutes. Because I didn't quite cut them, I think, thin enough, I'm going to put them for another 2 minutes. And I'll show you how they turn out. So yeah, so since I'm not a picky eater. I think I don't need to. I don't ever send things back, but I'm always so scared because I think chefs are kind of like artists. So I would never want to insult like an artist's masterpiece. So that's my reasoning. All right. So let me know what you think so far. Okay, so while we wait, I think we have another few minutes or so. I'm going to tell you some potato jokes. So, what do you call a monkey that makes potato chips? A chipmunk. Chipmunk. Come on. That was a good one. All right. What do you call a potato with right angles? A square root. Square root? Ah, that was like a 5 out of 5. All right. And last but definitely not least, why aren't potatoes able to get out and work? And it's not because this virus is going around, I'll say that. Because they're couch potatoes. Obviously. All right. Don't worry, I'm going to stick to making potato chips, not telling jokes. So, what do you think? Do you think you'd try this recipe at home? I've also made it with sweet potatoes. If you're looking for that option, it turns out just as good. Same recipe. You just gotta make sure you cut those ones thin because sweet potatoes tend to be a little more thicker. So you gotta make sure you cut them thin. Now, if you are like me and sometimes don't cut them thin, thin, you can always just put them in the microwave for an extra minute or so, and they'll still cook, but they just take a little longer. All right, moment of truth. Do 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 do. Woo! All right. Can you see them? So now I think some of them are quite crispy. And some of them are a little bit thick. So what I would do is just stick them back in the microwave for maybe even 30 seconds based on how they're feeling. So this would be a definition of one that is too, they're hot, too, not quite ready. They were too thick, so they're still a little bit crispy, or still a little bit thick. They're not crispy. So I'm gonna just remove the ones that are crispy. I think that one's good. All right. And then I flip them over, put them back in the microwave for maybe 30 seconds and see what happens. So what is your favorite potato chip? Do you have a special flavor that you like? I think mine is probably sour cream and onion, the rippled one, of course. But I also just like plain chips sometimes, like plain chips with like a nice egg salad sandwich. That's really good. And then also sometimes people think I'm bizarre for doing this, but I'll stick my potato chips into my sandwich and it is awesome. Awesome, awesome. If you haven't tried it, I suggest that. All right, let's see how these ones turn out. All right, and just like that, I'm gonna hold these because they're probably really hot. The thicker ones, even cooked, and I love how it has those little marks on it. Like it looks so authentic, like an actual chip. All right, I'm gonna try one. Can you hear my crunching? They're legitimately chips. It's awesome. You didn't have to deep fry them. You didn't need a lot of things. And I love it, especially at this time of what's going on in the world. If you can't get out to the store and get chips, well, you can make them at home as long as you got potatoes, some kind of oil or cooking spray, and salt. Perfect. All right, take care, everyone. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. And hopefully I'll talk to you again soon and hopefully get to see you guys soon. All right, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.